Kyoraku Shunsui has one of the strongest Bankai in the entire universe of Bleach. Is it something to do with fire, like his sensei Yamamoto? Or maybe something to do with the cold, since bro is just a chill guy who probably said yes to Diddy's invitation? Nope! His power comes from children's games. Huh? This power is so devastating that not even the Espada were allowed to witness his full strength. However, unlike other strong characters in manga that come from desperate backgrounds, fighting each day like it's their last, Shunsui was born in the Soul Society as the second son of a noble, meaning bro was loaded from birth. But that's besides the point. What's important is that his brother married the head of the Issei clan, who would become the now Shunsui's lieutenant's mother. So they got married and his brother was entrusted with a hairpin from his wife, and then he died. All because of the woman's zanpakuto. As members of the Issei family don't actually have their own zanpakuto. They actually only have one sword that is passed down throughout the clan, and this sword has a notorious curse that kills any man a woman in the family marries. The problem with that is that the Issei clan is all women, and so his brother dies, and now a widow, Nanao's mom, entrusts Shunsui with a hairpin as well as the zanpakuto of the Issei family, Shinken Hakyogen, with Shunsui's own sword creating a second spirit to store it, called Okyo, so the curse would never cause any harm again. He was given this because, according to the widow, he was the only one outside of her family she could trust. Bro, this man really waited for his brother to kick the bucket so he could show Nanao's mom his zanpakuto, if you know what I'm saying.
No, he's got a point.
Despite disliking training and studying, Shunsui was forced into the Shinigami Academy by Yamamoto, as he saw the potential for a great Soul Reaper. During his time at the academy, he would grow close to both a young Yamamoto, his teacher, and Jushiro Ukitake, his best friend and eventual fellow captain. Shunsui, Ukitake, Yamamoto, and Unohana are the oldest captains in the Gotei 13, with all four holding their position for at least 110 years. And Shunsui definitely earned his position. His spiritual pressure is unmatched, as it's said that he and Ukitake shits on the rest of their peers. His swordsmanship is also on another level, as he's able to dual wield and switch between his two swords between his hands instantly. His fighting style relies on evasion and attacking an opponent from the front or back. He also holds a mastery of Shunpo, as during his fight with Yamamoto, he makes a massive leap to remove Nanao from the battlefield and return in an instant, a feat complemented by his master himself. He can also use Kido quite well, using Hado 78 to a considerable effect without an incantation. But perhaps Shunsui's greatest asset is his big brain, as he's highly perceptive and insightful. Since he was little, he always saw a person's true character. An example of this was during his fight with Chad. He quickly determined the basics behind his attacks, warning the young man about his fighting style, and even explaining that his energy blast would end up using up his life force. After becoming commander, he was also able to convince Central 46 to agree with all of his new requests, and this includes releasing Aizen. This isn't even taking into consideration his enhanced strength, endurance, speed, Shikai, and Bankai, but we'll touch upon those later.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
After becoming captain, Shunsui appointed Lisa Yadomaru as his lieutenant, which would send him into a dark spiral of events, being the Holification incident, as Lisa was one of Aizen's victims, becoming a visored. Obviously, after this, she wasn't allowed to be his lieutenant, and while he didn't know it was Aizen, he never really trusted the guy. He even caught him walking late at night once, being kind of sus. But after the incident, Shunsui continued on as the 8th Division captain, eventually appointing Nanao Issei as his new lieutenant. Shunsui wouldn't really do anything else until the events of the Soul Society arc, eventually siding with Ichigo and Ukitake to rescue Rukia, and from this point on becomes an acquaintance of Ichigo. He would be around for the entirety of the war against Aizen, with his most crucial part being his fight against the #1 Espada, Stark. This man was a gunslinger, making it quite hard for Shunsui to act and evade the way he normally would. So he had no choice and finally unleashed the power of his zanpakuto, Katen Kyokutsu, activating his Shikai. his Zanpakuto transforms into a pair of huge, black curved Chinese scimitars with silver edges, now sporting long red tassels from its end. But nobody cares about the design, you just want to know how busted this power is, and honestly, I don't blame you. Like I said earlier, Shunsui's power is making children's games real. Anyone who steps within the boundaries of his spiritual pressure is immediately forced to play by the rules. You win, you live. You lose, you die. The first attack is a lazy spinning top, where the captain rotates both his blades, joining together to form a spinning circle of wind that envelops its target like a tornado almost instantly. And not only delivers damage, but disorients the enemy as well. Also, this thing can counter a hollow Cerro Blast by itself. The next attack is Mountain Demon, setting a principle where whoever is higher in battle wins. That's it. I literally don't know what else to say. Another Shikai ability is Shadow Demon, where whoever gets their shadow stepped on loses. It allows competitors to manipulate their shadows to their benefit. Take Shunsui's battle against Stark, where the captain demonstrated the ability to hide himself in his shadows using this technique. Also being able to control his shadow and using them to attack an opponent by attacking their shadow. And to make things even crazier, Shunsui can make multiple shadow clones of himself and attack from multiple angles. The fourth attack is Lustrous Demon, a color-based game where you say the bomb of your color you want to cut with your sword, and then you can't cut literally anything else. That means that if the color doesn't exist on your body, the damage is so minimal even if the attack is normally fatal. On the other hand, the amount of that color that exists on you determines more damage inflicted. To maximize attack power, you have to use the color that maximizes the risk to yourself and your enemy, so it's all a gamble. Next up is Dharma Doll Fell Down, where Shunsui or his opponent is declared it, like in a game of tag, and the other combatant travels towards them on a trail of Ryatsu left by their attack in order to catch them by surprise. But if the aggressor who is it sees the opponent while they're moving, they're dead. If this reminds you of red light, green light, you would be on the right track, as this ability is inspired by Daruma-san Gankurando, a Japanese children's game very similar in nature to that one. Finally, there's Shadow Sending, where by staring hard enough into their shadow, Shunsui or his opponent can project an after image in a different location. The higher an opponent's Ryatsu, the more realistic the image appears to be. So yeah, Shunsui's Shikai is pretty insane all things considered, and in the end he was able to take down Stark during the Battle of Fake Karakura Town. But things would only get worse for the captain of the 8th Division as his sensei Yamamoto gets done down dirty by the son of God himself, Yuha. And to make matters worse, Shunsui is now in charge of the entire Gotei 13. Obviously, bro was not ready for this kind of responsibility, but his boss was dead, multiple of the captain's Bankais had been stolen, the Soul Society was f***ed, and another war with the Quincy's was imminent. So it's not like Shunsui really had much of a choice. And so he serves as the new leader of the Soul Society's military. And while Ichigo goes off to the Soul King Palace to train, Shunsui approaches Central 46 with his first acts as commander, being the appointment of Nanao Issei and Gemshiro Okiba as his 2 lieutenants, and allowing Unohana to train Kenpachi. While originally hesitant towards both ideas, the Central 46 eventually caves in, and this was a really good decision on Sensui's part, as Kenpachi trading with Unohana allowed his Zanpakuto to awaken, which was one of the biggest moments of the entire series, and completely turned the tide of the battle in the Soul Reaper's favor. But we have a ton of videos about Kenpachi's Bankai already, so just go check those out if you want more context. But perhaps Shunsui's biggest decision during the war was enlisting the help of none other than the GOAT himself, I mean Sosuke Aizen. Aizen's contribution here was massive, immediately destroying several of the creatures created by Yuha upon reaching the surface. Shunsui knew he was a risk, but come on, it's Aizen. There was no way in hell he was gonna let someone other than himself become God. So of course he was gonna be an ally in this fight, and Shunsui knew this. Remember, he can read people really well, and when you have someone like Aizen at your disposal, you'd be an idiot not to use him. Mind you, this guy was still sitting in his chair and doing massive damage at the same time. Like, bro got stronger sitting down. He's that insane. But even Aizen can't win the war by himself, and Ukitake had to sacrifice himself. The war is just not in Shunsui's favor. Bro lost both his mentor and his best friend. But he has to keep going, as after Yuha turns the Soul King's palace into his own winter winter fortress, Shunsui, along with a bunch of other captains, Hollows, and rebelling Quincy's, go in for the final attack against the new Soul King. It's here where he faces Lily Barrow of the Royal Guards, another gun user. Bro, I'm telling you, Kubo just likes putting this guy up against the pew-pews. This fight is pretty difficult, as Lily Barrow is a masterful sniper with proficient aim, contradicting Shunsui's battling style. This is mainly due to Lily Barrow's shrift, the X-axis, which allows him to fire shots with his rifle that uniformly pierce all things within his sight, and this includes whatever lies in between his muzzle and the target, leaving perfectly round holes along a straight line. Also, the bullets are impossible to block. Witnessing the Quincy's overwhelming power, Shunsui realized he only had one option: to release the full power of his Zanpakuto. Bankai. This is Katen Kyokatsu Karematsu Shinju, or Bones of Heavenly Blooming Madness. The Bankai spreads out from Shunsui like black, root-like tendrils, with his Zanpakuto spirit appearing behind him. This is Shunsui's last resort, as he can only use it when his allies are far away enough so they aren't affected. This is because Shunsui's aura covers a large area around him, changing other people's perception of their surrounding environments, perceiving it as a darkened, bleak, and gloomy environment, making others feel varying levels of anguish and despair, each compared with a story, which is the main heart of his Bankai. This Bankai has 4 levels, so let's go over all of them right now. Level 1 is where any wounds Shunsui or his opponent inflicts on each other will emerge on both bodies, so they essentially share pain. This is similar to a story where a man suffers the same wound as his partner, but cannot die. The second is where black spots appear all over the body of Shunsui's opponents, causing them to bleed out profusely. This is the next part of the story, where the man, regretful over causing his partner pain, collapses in shame and becomes ill. The third is where a massive amount of water engulfs the captain and his enemy, remaining until one of them runs out of Ryatsu and drowns. At this point in the story, both characters have hurled themselves into gushing water. And finally, there's Act 4. After sheathing his sword, Shunsui winds up a white thread around his opponent's throat multiple times before pulling it, cutting their throat and blowing off their head, just as the man's partner does in the conclusion of the story. This is exactly what happens to Lily Barrow, as he's decapitated after witnessing Shunsui's Bankai, but this asshole couldn't stay dead and transforms into this really gross owl monster thing. Shunsui's like, shit, because he just used his most powerful attack and couldn't take out the enemy, and he's like, yeah, you know what, we're cooked, it's over. But Nanao arrives just in time, requesting her captain to give her her family's Zanpakuto, the one entrusted to him by his brother's wife. Nanao accepts the curse of the blade, utilizing it in battle against Lily Barrow. And this sword is crazy, dude. It has incredible reflective powers, being powerful enough to counter even a god. This is why it's able to reflect Lily Barrow's most powerful attack right back at him, disintegrating the Quincy in an instant. And that's pretty much Shunsui's entire role within Bleach. 10 years later, he still serves as Captain Commander, maintaining order throughout the Serite and the human world. He's one of Bleach's most powerful characters and was definitely the best choice when it came to succeeding Yamamoto. Anyways, to enjoy more peak fiction, check out the videos on screen right now.